football activities on Wednesday night going into Thursday. Luke Jones will be on the scene out in Owings Mills with plenty of purple reports. And in the meantime, these Orioles have kept us busy over the weekend. Just when you thought it was all falling apart in the Bronx, in come the Cleveland Indians, a first-place sweep, and now the first-place Baltimore Orioles hosting the Colorado Rockies. Here from the Rockies play-by-play team at 850 KOA, high on a mountaintop, a mile high. He is Jack Corrigan. You can follow his journey on Twitter at Jack Corrigan, the number 2 as well on Twitter. Welcome to Baltimore. We don't make your acquaintance. You don't bring those Rocky Mountain oysters in here very often, and we certainly don't get out there to visit you guys that often.
No, yeah, the way interleague is, every 3 years we were here 2013. Been a while since the Orioles have been out to Denver, but always fun to come here to Baltimore. Did it a lot when I covered the Indians, so this is one of my favorite spots to visit.
Yeah, we had the Indians in here over the weekend, and they're having a heck of a year. Hey, Cleveland's having a heck of a year, right? But, for the Rockies, it feels like this sort of eternal rebuild after that kind of unlikely month in the World Series run almost a decade ago. I guess pitching is always the story. When I think of the Rockies, and much like the Orioles have not been able to recruit a pitcher from, they have to grow the arms because free agents just won't sign to pitch in Camden Yards in the American League East historically, and certainly other than Hampton and Nagel and a couple of cats a couple of decades ago, for the Rockies to buy pitching, it's just not the way they can conduct business, right?
No, they really can't. I mean, there's no question it's an offensive ballpark. I agree with you that like Camden Yards, a great American ballpark in Cincinnati, probably even Citizens Bank in Philadelphia as well. Very offense friendly, if you will. So you have to grow your own, and I think in the Rockies' case, they're on the cusp of doing that. Some young pitchers have really started to come on this year, and that's why there's growing optimism in Denver that this is a team that still might, contend before the rest of this year is over, and certainly in the next couple of years, really like their chances of being in the thick of things.
The Orioles are making so much money, and the business of baseball makes so much money. The Rockies are one of those kind of unique franchises where I think in Denver on a summer night, other than going to Red Rocks or going up into the mountains, people are going to come to Rockies games whether they're good or bad. Is that accurate or is that not? I mean, I remember back in the days when the Oakland A's were going to be moving to Denver, and Charlie Finley, everybody wanted to get to Denver, and the team's gotten there in the ballpark. It's beautiful. Not a lot of success, but certainly as a financial endeavor and as a franchise, it's certainly a relatively healthy franchise from that perspective, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the franchises that really needs backsides in seats. We're somewhat isolated, if you will, from a TV perspective. We're probably in the bottom third in terms of local television revenue. So the revenue derived from the fans and concessions and all the things that go with it, it's certainly important for the Rockies. We're in a division where the Dodgers get $200 million a year in television revenue. The Rockies get about 40. And then
that stacks up, right? That's one year. Then you stack that over 10. It's where the Orioles have been with the Yankees and the Red Sox. But, it's not that way everywhere now. But certainly the Rockies and the Rays and they're really in with some big fish. And that just handcuffs you from what you can do, right?
Well, it makes it incumbent that you don't make mistakes in terms of drafting and developing, and there's been a period of time where the Rockies have either bad luck with an injury or made bad picks, and I think over the last couple of years they've been much more consistent in terms of who they've drafted and how their development has gone on. I think over the course of this series with the Orioles, the fans here in Baltimore are seeing a homegrown team for the most part that has some really good talent. And if you muster together enough of it, then you have a chance to be competitive. And the Rockies think they're at that point.
Jack, for seeing this team come in, clearly this infield revolution, right? I mean, we've got all of these, and you've been doing this a long time. Maybe you go back to the Indians in the 90s when they had that Baerga, Lofton, Ramirez, all those young players coming through that can hit the ball. The Orioles are certainly in the midst of that with Machado and Scope in the middle of their infield. It looks like to be for years to come, we hope, if Mr. Angelos is generous and Machado plays along. But in Arenado, in Story, now you're bringing up this David Dial young man that's going to debut here. There is a core of bats that are coming together there that has led them onto maybe the precipice of thinking they can be a 500 team this year, or maybe even finish a couple of games above 500 if things break right over the next 60 days.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, they've always had a fair amount of success in terms of developing offense. I mean, Nolan Arenado, we could probably spend your entire show debating who's better, he or Machado, and neither one of us would be satisfied other than the fact that we're thrilled that these two young men play for the respective teams that we cover. Trevor Story's been a remarkable thing to watch during the course of this year. DJ LeMahieu, the second baseman, maybe is the most underrated player in the game. On both sides of the ball, a 6'4" kid who plays defense as well as any second baseman I've seen since Roberto Alomar, which says an awful lot. Charlie Blackmon's another guy who plays better than people give him credit for. And then, as you mentioned, David Dahl coming up. And, during the course of this week, the folks at Camden Yards, that one game when they see Dylan Bundy and John Gray go at it, oh my, if you want to see good young pitching, that'll be a delight.
Well, Jack, for where the Rockies are in all these teams, it's fascinating to me when you talk about the old barroom brawl you and I would have on Arenado and Machado. And, I mean, that's what makes baseball fun is comparing all of these players and generations and all-star games. Heck, we saw Griffey and Piazza go into the Hall of Fame this weekend, and that's what makes the argument wonderful. But in my lifetime, and I'm 47, I'll be pushing 48 here in a couple of weeks, going back to the early 70s, I can't really remember maybe the Rice and Lynn when I was a kid, coming into the game and the Eddie Murrays and all those guys. But this generation, it's funny you'd say Arenado because we never hear his name in Baltimore. We compare Machado to Harper and to Trout, and we hear about those names. And then there's the Bryants and the Correas and the Altuves and all of these young players. Not all of them are going to make it through, but boy, out of the gate for these 22, 23, 24-year-olds to be having these 20, 30 home run, driving in 100 runs, 2 and 3 times all-star before they're 25 years of age. It really does create some promise for a lot of these organizations. Now the question is, can they keep this young talent? Or 5 years from now, are all these guys going to be playing for the Dodgers and the Yankees all over again, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's always part of the issue, and I think some of the guys are to the point of understanding you can be a star anywhere. The Rockies are fortunate in the case of Arenado that they don't have to worry about that issue until the 2020 season, and you don't get too much ahead of yourselves. You look at what you have right now, and you enjoy the talent you mentioned here in the East. They might not know Nolan as well as some other people, but I mean, here's a guy who's if you go from the start of last year, from the beginning of the 2015 season, he has 30 more RBIs than any player in the game. And the object of the game is to score runs. And if you're producing runs at a rate better than anybody in the game, you probably deserve a little more recognition than that. But the beauty about Nolan, he is such a baseball version of a gym rat. He could care less. For him, it's just about playing. And it's a wonderful thing.
Well, that makes him a $300 million baseball player. That's the next question, right? I mean, the question around here isn't, well, we got Machado under contract for a few more years. It's how do we give him $300 million and keep him around? Same question I think they have for Harper, and same question for every quality baseball player in this generation to sign or to not sign. I mean, Adam Jones probably cost himself $50 million, literally, by signing when he did. There's really no incentive for young players to sign and latch on if they're feeling like they're going to have that kind of money down the line.
Yeah, some of it depends on their families and where they are and what's important to them and the environment and in which they want to work, all those things. But when you're a club like the Rockies, and you can even throw the Orioles into that category, I mean, there is that constant need to keep developing those next group of kids because you're not going to be able to keep them all. You may not be able to keep most. So in that regard, how do you keep the chain going for most of the time? Limit those down cycles, and that's what the Rockies are trying to do. You're right; they've had a cycle of too long a time, 5 years in a row under 500. After some good teams, 07 through the 2010 campaign. So they're trying to get to that level of let's keep producing kids so that when we lose some of these guys because we can't afford to keep them, we don't have that much of a fall off.
Jack Corrigan is the play-by-play announcer for the Colorado Rockies after a long, long stint in the land of Cleve, or Jack, as we say, the city of champions, Cleveland, Ohio, right? I mean, I know you're from afar. I know you spent time with the Cavaliers and in Cleveland. It has been a magical little, 90-day run for your homeland, has it not?
Yeah, it has. I mean, it was obviously a thrill for me. I mean, I was the young kid in the stands in '64 when University of Maryland great Gary Collins stuck it to the then Baltimore Colts in the '64 championship game, and I didn't think I'd wait 51 years to see a team from my hometown win again, but I was thrilled for the city. I was thrilled with how respectful they were in the celebration, no riots or anything like that. And, it's been a fun year watching the Indians play well. Tito's got them kind of maxed out. They had a tough time here with the Orioles lately, but, they got a chance to keep the fun going. Now, the Browns are another story, but at least that's where I don't mind adopting the Broncos, when it comes to football. That part of it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good trade up. How many years you been in Denver now, Jack?
This is my 31st year in baseball, my 14th with the Rockies.
Yeah, I mean, what a move. You were there during the last Cleveland glory era, and just off the backside of what happened this weekend with the sweep, I've been on the phone with Munch Bishop. I've been on the phone with Red Guy in the last couple of days, and, all the people out in Cleveland over the weekend as we played them, because this is what I do. You can't get better insights on the visiting team than to talk to folks like yourself. And with the Indians, it feels like rarefied air, not just for the Cavaliers and what they've done in the convention last week and all of that, but the fact that people are coming to the ballpark again there, and I've told everyone, and I've certainly told Oriole fans, it looked kind of easy this weekend when you break out the brooms and Nolan Reimold and you got some miracles, but you're probably going to have to go to Cleveland and win some baseball games in October, probably, if you're the Orioles and you think you're going to have a parade here in the fall. And I've seen those games. I was at all those games in 95, 97 out there. It really becomes a football mentality, and as much as the Browns stink, the Cleveland people will just move all of that parade LeBron thing right on into the baseball stadium in October. I think that's going to be a hellhole for anybody to go in there and face that young pitching on a cold night. That's going to be a real tough place to play because every game's going to be Monday Night Football there in October, and I don't see anybody coming and catching the Indians. And more than that, I almost would bet $1 on the fact that they're going to win the trading deadline because I don't want to say they're desperate, but they're a team that feels like they can win right now, and that's what this week is about. This week is about how do you win the trading deadline? How do you make your team the best team for October? And I think the Indians are on the cusp of being able to do that this week.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and the Rockies probably not this year, but we may see them be active this week. When you are a team that can't go out and buy replacements easily every year, when you have a group that's together for, you know, however many seasons you have them under control, you have to take advantage of those opportunities. And sometimes teams, you know, a little bit too cautious at doing it cost themselves. And I think in the Indians' case, especially with pitching, you have no guarantee how long guys stay healthy. It's just the reality of this game that we love. And so you have all that great young pitching well. You got to give them a little help in the bullpen. You've got to give them a little help probably with a bat in the outfield. As tough as it may be, you might have to sacrifice some of that depth you have in your minor league system to add a piece that gives you a chance to make a run in deep October. You know, the Rockies in '07, sure, a lot of it was, you know, just one of those streaks that you go on 21-22 to get all the way to the World Series. But also some of it was, you know, picking up a piece here and there that doesn't seem like much at the trading deadline, but is that final little element that gets you over the top. And I think that's the challenge for the Indians and a few other, you know, serious contenders this week. Can you find that right piece or two to make a difference?
We're chatting with Jack Corrigan. He writes books. He's from Cleveland, but he calls the Colorado Rockies baseball games. A perfect guest to have on here this week as the Rockies come in with a bunch of young players. You do a lot of, good civic work out there, too, in addition to writing books. I've looked onto your timeline here about PSA numbers and prostate cancer. You've had quite a journey yourself, right?
Yes, right before spring training, diagnosed with prostate cancer. Fortunately, we're catching it at an early stage. The challenge for me right now is they want to do a procedure in October, and I'm hoping I'm busy. You know, but regardless.
Well, maybe you can recoup by watching the Indians put another parade on in Cleveland for you, Jack.
Yeah, that might be something. But no, I look at it as a chance to be an advocate. You know, men can certainly take care of themselves in terms of prostate cancer. It doesn't have to be a death sentence. It doesn't take a lot to stay vigilant. And so in my position with what notoriety the job offers, I'm trying to make men aware, you know, that you if you have a family history of it, if you get into your, you know, mid 40s and into your 50s, it's time to make sure every year you're taking the simple prostate test to see if there's an issue. That's how they found out for me. I mean, I didn't have any symptoms or anything else, but my PSA number went up in my blood test, and we were fortunate to find it when we did. Have a great doctor taking care of me, and I plan on. I don't know if I'll do it as long as Vin does. I told Scully in Los Angeles I'll have to work till I'm 99 to equal him. But
and you went years without ever seeing him. When you think about it, right? You were in the American League.
Yeah.
You and Vin Scully were never in the same press box at maybe an All-Star game here and again or something, right?
Right. Yeah. So to be around him all the time is wonderful.
Be at Dodger Stadium any night is a wonderful night. You know,
that is true.
A little story for me. I did 30 ballparks in 30 days last year for the Bone Marrow Registry. My wife's now a 2-time leukemia survivor, so we know the cancer story as well and that journey, and we've done a lot of a good work here for There Goes My Hero for leukemia. But being in all those ballparks last year, for you to go American to National League, and certainly for the years you've been involved, and like myself as being a fan at the old Comiskey and the old Cleveland Stadium and the old Memorial Stadium and all those old places, I love Dodger Stadium. So to get to go there a couple times a year, you got a good gig there now.
Oh yeah, without question. I've been very blessed in that regard to work as long as I have in the game. And as we said at the top, in interleague, you don't get to come to some of the American League cities, but, once every 3 years, maybe once every 6 years, because it rotates, from who's going to host that particular interleague series. But Yeah, I've probably broadcast games now in over 50 ballparks,
Wow.
which is a thrill, and to be in the same league now as Vin Scully and John Miller and so many of the great National League announcers, and still come to the American League and see my close friend Tom Hamilton with the Indians, and come here and get Joe Angel and the boys here in Baltimore. It's great. I'm very blessed to be in such a fraternity of people, and as long as I have good health, like I said, who knows? Maybe I will challenge Vin's record. I don't know. 67 might be tough to reach.
Never worked a day in our lives, have we?
That's exactly right.
Jack, I appreciate the visit, man. Good health to you, good spirits. Whatever you do in Baltimore, don't eat tourist crab cakes now, all right? So we got to send you out to Costas or Al's or one of our great places here. We do appreciate the visit. Stay a little while, and good luck on the rest of the journey. We'll be watching the Rockies all week.
All right, my pleasure. Great talking with you.
My pleasure. Jack Corrigan 2 is the way to find Jack Corrigan out on Twitter. He's the Colorado Rockies play-by-play voice on 850 KOA. That's 850KOA.com out in Denver, Colorado. Rockies in town this week. Orioles off to Minnesota, Toronto this weekend. And, of course, Luke will be out beating the hard heat of Owings Mills all weekend. I'll be out there most of the middle of the week as well. We'll be tweeting, Facebooking, Snapchatting, Instagramming, linking in, doing all of that cool stuff. And, of course, anything you missed you can find in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world. When we go live on Facebook now, on my Facebook personal page, as well as on YouTube and our WNST TV channel. You can subscribe there. All of our stuff comes to you everywhere you are. Remember, we were a little radio station. Now we're like this cool internet company. Appreciate y'all tuning in, saying hello, commenting below, making fun of my shave or not shave, or my hair, or my football shirt that I'm wearing today. Last but not least, morning newspaper hits you at 7 a.m. each and every morning. Sign up. It's free. It's easy. It's all powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. And if there's any breaking news this week from Ravens camp, the Orioles, the Terps, anything big comes to you first on the WNST Tech Service. Subscribe. It's free. It's easy. It's all powered up by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis will be here on Thursday, driving you home as well. I'm Nestor. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. We're everywhere the internet is served. We are WNST.net AM 1570 and WNST Taos in Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.